All right, hi guys, I'm Danya and I am a nutrition student in my senior year. And today we are going to be cooking, it's called Mujadara. It's spiced lentils and rice, and we're going to make a tomato cucumber salad to go along with it.
Mm-hmm. And I'm Connor. I'll be assisting with making the event run smoothly.
Okay. Here we go. So, okay. Can you guys hear me okay from here?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Okay, so if you guys saw the instructions that we gave for you guys to do beforehand, you guys would be soaking your rice at this point already. If you didn't do this, it's okay. I just think that our rice might cook at different times. And even depending on how long we've each had them soaking for, because when you soak your rice, it's going to absorb the water. So then it's going to need less cooking time when the time comes. Yeah, buddy.
Where's my backpack? Where?
In the hallway. Sorry, guys. And then the next thing we would have to do is rinse our lentils. So we're going to need a strainer, and then we're going to, we all have our 3/4 cup lentils, and then we're going to put it in the strainer, rinse it out, and then we'll get started on the lentils. And then while we're boiling our lentils, we'll chop our onion.
Danya, I'm putting my rinsed lentils in a pot, and then I'm just following the directions. It says to add water just to cover.
Yes.
It's about 5 cups, but just to cover.
So you don't have to measure out the 5 cups. Just depending on the pot size you're using, I would put the lentils in, and you just need enough really to cover it. You're going to end up straining the water out afterwards.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a spice mix that says lentils. So I put that in with the water. Correct. There's 2 spice mixes, one that says lentils and one that says rice. So
yeah.
I'm going to add the spices to the water with the lentils.
Yes, yeah.
Perfect.
I'm going to go ahead and put my lentils into the pot, and then I'll show you mine so you can see how it looks. Which, if you guys want to see like how much water it is. And then you guys can save the strainer because we're going to use it again afterwards.
The spices smell delicious.
Yeah, the 7 spice definitely has a strong smell. So let me turn my other camera so you guys can see. So I have about, go ahead and see how much water I have in there. I'm going to turn my stove onto high, and then I'm going to add my lentils spice into it. And then you can grab like a ladle, give it a little stir. I'm going to go ahead and cover it just to speed up the process, but then once it boils, we could uncover it. And then it needs to boil, it says for about 20 to 25 minutes, but really just until it's soft. It's also going to cook a little bit with the rice too. So we'll kind of test it out around like 15 minutes. But yeah, so now while we're waiting for that, we really want to try to use our time wisely in the kitchen. So while you have one thing going, it's best to kind of prep ahead for other things. So right now we'll do our onions, and we're going to need diced onions for the actual rice and lentils, and then we're going to need sliced onions as a topping that we're going to do afterwards. So we're going to cut our onion in half, and we'll use half of it to dice, and then the other half as slices, and I'll show you guys the different ways. And yeah, okay, so we can go ahead and start with the onion. And I'm just gonna grab 2 bowls, one to put the diced onions in and one to put the sliced onions in. And also, I just have to disclaim, I'm not a professional, so we'll see how my onion placing goes. So I'm gonna go ahead and see if you guys can. Always want to use cloth, right? Because we don't want to cut our fingers. Then we're going to slice that tip point, right? And then we can go ahead and peel the skin. Also, I forgot to mention, you guys all have your cameras off, but we could just, or actually, yeah, we can keep cameras off throughout, and then we'll turn our cameras back on afterwards so that we can show our final dish. I don't know why this onion is so hard to peel.
As it can go with onions. So what is your method for chopping an onion?
Okay, so I actually wrote a bit. So pretty much we cut off that edge, and then for the slicing, what you want to do is go along with the lines on the onion to get perfect and even slices. But first, we're going to cut the onion in half. Let's discard of our. So we are going to slice the onion in half. Okay. And so you kind of can't see because I didn't cut enough. So let me cut a bit. But if you actually look at the onion, you'll see like the lines. So with our claw grip, we're going to start, we'll do the slices first and get that one out of the way because it's a bit easier. But we'll just do thin slices. And then you guys could kind of see before I finish, if I take it apart, they're just like even slices. So going through, and then slices. And then also, actually, I did want to point out, we're just going up and down with our knife. So back up, down, back up, back up. Then when we get to this point, we can cut off this end, right? Mm-hmm. And kind of churn it over. Be careful with your fingers here.
That root end tends to be more for structural stability, which can be essential for the larger part of the onion. But as we get closer to the end, it's better to remove it so that we can harvest all the onion we can.
Oh, so our onions, my onions are, my lentils, sorry, are boiling. So I'm going to go ahead, uncover. We could give them, you guys see, a little stir. And then you're at, I'm at like a medium high right now. So it is 7:13. So we'll check on it around 7:23. So now our onions are sliced. So we can get our sliced onions into our bowl. Just kind of break them apart. And these are going to be the topping that we're going to cook with the tablespoon of vegetable oil that we gave you guys. And next we are going to dice. So for dicing, it's a little bit different. So with the slices, we cut along with it, right? With the dicing, we're going to do that same claw, and we are going to cut kind of across, but you don't want to go all the way down. You just kind of want to stop like 3/4 of the way. Kind of hold your onion. Right, and then this is a pretty small onion, but if you have a larger one, you could kind of create like slits in it. I'm just doing one, but depending on the size of your onion, you could do like 2 or 3. Then we're going to go ahead and chop, and we're doing that same down and up motion. So we're not really like gliding the knife. We're just literally going up and down. And then go ahead and flip it when you get to this part and just okay.
Well, what are you making?
Mujadara.
What?
Mujadara.
Well, that's okay. You just have a sous chef in the kitchen,
Never too early to learn.
right?
Yeah. Excellent knife skills, by the way. Always making sure to keep your fingers out of the way. And of course, the knife can be a useful tool for picking up the diced onion and just making the most of it.
Mujadara?
Yeah, Mujadara.
Mujadara?
It's Mujadara.
That's what we're making in Mujadara?
Yep. Yeah. You want to tell everybody how yummy it is?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have our diced, and then we have our. And sorry, I'm just pulling the recipe back up. So the next thing to do, so we're still waiting on our lentils, which are still boiling. What we're gonna do next is strain those lentils. And then we are going to drain our rice. And then we're gonna saute some onions in the pot. And add the rice to it, add the strained lentils, add our seasoning, and then we're gonna mix it up, add some water, let it boil. Then we're gonna put it on low and let it cook, and pretty much that's the dish. And then while it cooks, we'll go ahead and whip up our tomato and cucumber salad, which is super simple. So I'm gonna go ahead and just give this a mix. I think we still have quite a way to go. But yeah, so while we're waiting for this, because I mean, at this point, it's just a waiting game. There's a lot that actually is going on in the Middle East currently. If you guys saw the recipe card, this is a Middle Eastern dish. It's not really tied to one country in specific. Yeah, pretty much all Middle Eastern countries make this dish, and various regions make it differently in terms of like the rice that's used. Some people use jasmine rice, some people use basmati rice, and then also the amount of lentils that go in. So you'll see some people using more rice than lentils like we are today, but then you'll also see some people use an even amount, right, ratio rice to lentils. You'll see some people use more lentils. But just a little history of the recipe. This is one of the oldest Middle Eastern recipes in history. And it's typically eaten when families need a break from meat, because a lot of Middle Eastern dishes revolve around meat, chicken, lamb, beef, and so it's typically like when you're kind of just sick of meat, you need a little break. And it's also such a simple dish and it's quick. So it's just also something that's really easy to do also if you're in a rush. And then Conor can go ahead and discuss some of the current events going on in the Middle East.
Absolutely. So as I'm sure many of you know, on February 6th, there was a 7.8 magnitude earthquake, followed by a 7.7 magnitude one 11 hours later, with an epicenter in Syria and Turkey. About 14 million people were sadly impacted, with over 55,000 recorded deaths having been confirmed as of recently, 48,000 of which have been in Turkey and 7,000 of which have been in Syria. About 12,000 were heavily injured and hospitalized with crush syndrome, which is a devastating form of injury post-earthquake. As with most earthquakes, vital infrastructure has been damaged along with impacting the relief and response, just damaging the country's wellness to get back on its feet. As such, at this time, they're still certainly recovering and still facing hardships following it. Definitely still in need of relief, both from foreign countries and, of course, from us. We'd highly recommend donating to relief centers if still available.
Thank you.
I'll piggyback on that. So World Central Kitchen, if you want to do something food related, World Central Kitchen is in there, as they are all over the world in places that are affected like this. And so that's a great place to donate if you want to. And yeah, can't speak highly enough about the work that they do. So World Central Kitchen is one way that you can certainly donate and know that your help is received and going where it needs to be.
I'm boiling a little bit more water in the back. If you guys hear anything, I'm just gonna add it to my lentils because I see that it soaked up a lot of it. I actually did want to point out there's actually a few different ways to make this meal. So not everyone soaks the lentils separately. You could actually, you could boil the lentils, and then when the lentils are kind of like halfway cooked, even a little more than halfway, you could just kind of throw the rice in there and then add a little more liquid to the amount that the rice would need. But the reason I didn't choose that for today's is because it's really hard to give exact measurements for a recipe like that. But the more you make the recipe, you could kind of just wing it as you go. Like, this isn't really something I would typically measure out making at home. But yeah, that's another way that you can make it, which makes the process even quicker than it already is.
And just to piggyback off of Professor Kubota and what Connor was saying, there is actually a movie or a documentary movie that this director made about the organization called, the World Central Kitchen, and it's called We Feed People. And it's a really great documentary to watch and see the work and what Jose, the celebrity chef, has gone through to even create this organization.
What's the name of the movie again?
It was We Feed People.
We Feed People. I haven't seen it. I'll look for it.
Yeah. I'm going to write that down. Also, while we have some downtime, for storing this meal, you can store it in just a regular airtight container for up to 3 to 4 days. The quantity isn't that big. I think it'll be gone within 2 days, honestly. And if not, you could also freeze it for up to a month. So if you want to kind of make it in the future for like a meal prep, you could freeze it for up to a month. And then for reheating, you can put a little bit of water inside of a pot and then add the rice to it and then just kind of stir and heat it slowly on low. Or you can just pop it in the microwave and, heat it through that way too. And also, I was mentioning that different regions make it differently. So today we used the brown lentils, but some people use red lentils. But at that point, it's more of like, it's a little bit more soupy because red lentils get more mushy. Some people use yellow lentils. And then, like I mentioned, there's different types of rice used. So, I mean, if you guys purchase some lentils, like a bag of lentils, you could really use any rice you have at home. Yeah, and also you don't even have to use all the seasonings that we use today. So like if it's not something you have typically at home, you might have like garlic and cumin and salt. That would be fine. You don't even have to do like the 7 spice and all those other ones that we used.
Yeah, lentils tend to be a great base for a dish like that and can easily be modified based on whatever your tastes may be. They're also great for experimenting and finding what your tastes may be even. On top of that, of course, lentils are very nutritious. They are rich in protein, making them a great boost to your protein intake, especially for people who are vegetarian or on vegan diets, or even for meatless Mondays. Lentils are also, of course, a great source of micronutrients, including iron, potassium, and fiber. They tend to pair very well with rice due to being very shelf stable. They can last years in the pantry and are pretty easy to prepare in a variety of ways.
I have a quick question, Danya. So I know that the recipe says 7 spice, and I think people might be less familiar with that because 5 spice is a Chinese spice that more people might know. How is it different from the 7 spice?
Actually, let me ask my mom. My mom's here and I think she can answer that better than me. Mom, what's the difference between like a 7 spice and a 5 spice?
Well, those kind of spices to begin with, they're mixed. They have black pepper, they have cumin, they have, so it's just depends on what spices they're mixed with.
So
they're two different spices.
what would make the 7 spice different than 5 spice?
I don't know what's in them, I don't use them, but
Okay.
it's just gonna be more different spices. You're gonna have cumin, you're gonna have cumin, you're gonna have cardamom maybe, you might have curry. It's just gonna depend, black pepper.
Yeah, I mean, I know all for my family personally, we actually don't buy the 7 spice because we actually buy like I could show you guys. I just have like a mixture at home. Mine's almost out and it just says like, I just have Arabic spice written on it. But essentially this is a 7 spice. It's just like not the one you would purchase from a store, but you could kind of see the color is more like yellowish. But yeah. Oh no, we need that. I need that. I could give you one. Yeah, well, you can get one from the fridge. Go ahead. We'll get one from the fridge. You can get one from the fridge. Go ahead.
So Danya, where do you buy that spice?
Overseas from Palestine.
Oh, you bring it home, okay.
Yeah.
Professor Kalboda.
Okay.
Hi,
but I-
Professor Kalboda.
Hi, how are you? We're happy to see you in the kitchen.
Oh, my mom wants me to tell you that she actually sees it at Restaurant Depot, the 7 spice. And she says it's pretty similar.
That's good to know. I could get some, so if anybody on the WHISK Cooks call here wants some, see Professor Kubota, I'll get some and we can make sure that everybody gets a bit of that to cook with.
So now would be a good time to check on our lentil.
We're leaving, but we're going on drive.
I would say they're like almost cooked, but still need a few more minutes.
Only.
I think just a few more minutes, but it is also gonna cook with the rice as well.
I think mine are cooked. So if they're cooked, should I just let them sit until we're ready or should I drain them?
I would drain them.
Okay.
Because it's gonna cook even more with the rice. You don't want it to get too mushy.
So if your lentils are cooked, then just strain them of the liquid and then set the lentils aside, ideally in just a bowl until we get started on the rice.
We have 2 more events that I'll be doing with 2 of Connor's classmates. One of them is on April 13th. I have to double check. And I think the other one was May 4th. And the one in April is kind of like an Earth Day theme. It's going to also be vegan as well. And then the one in May is like a Mexican Cinco de Mayo theme, and we'll be making chickpea taco bowls.
I'll post those events in the chat.
Yeah. Oh, also, I think another good point to talk about is that this is a really budget-friendly meal too, since it doesn't require meat. And then the ingredients are super shelf-stable. So you could kind of have them around. You could purchase them in bulk and you could have them for like at least 6 months, you know, even up to a year. And also another thing is it can also be a one-pot meal. So we are going to use a small saucepan, but it can easily be done as a one-pot meal because you could just use the same pot to saute your sliced onions afterwards. Yeah, so it's really versatile, simple. I think my lentils are about to be done also. Those that are cooking along, how are your guys' lentils looking?
Mine are good. I didn't want to cook mine all the way just because I know you said we're gonna cook it with the rice.
Yeah.
So I've left the mine aside and drained.
Okay, good. I'm gonna go ahead and drain mine right now. And then we could get started. Oh, cool, guys, like I wanna show you this. Don't ever get rid of your green onion roots. You could always regrow them. This has only been a week and a half and it's almost fully grown. Yeah, so.
Anya, there's a question in the
Yeah.
chat.
Oh,
Yeah, in the chat, Theon asks, what's considered done for the lentils? They're still a bit hard in the center, but chewable.
yeah, so you want them to be hard, you said hard in the center. Yeah, so as long as if it's chewable, that should be fine because it is going to cook more with your rice. How hard would you say it is? It's not like crunchy, right?
Is it crunchy? Nothing.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Like a
Yeah.
boiled potato is fine. Yeah. It's going to cook more with the rice.
Just al dente for now. So with those drained out, shall we get started on the rice next?
Yes, yeah. So let me get closer to my pot so I could show you guys. Okay, so we're gonna turn our stove back on to about a medium-high heat or more medium. And we are going to add our olive oil, but we want to preserve a tablespoon of that oil because we're gonna need it for the salad. So, I mean, you guys could either eyeball it. I'm gonna go ahead and eyeball it, but if you guys wanna take out a tablespoon or even just a spoon that you eat with, you really just need a drizzle for the salad. So I'm gonna go ahead, put it into the pot about a medium heat. I can show you guys on saving just a little bit, not too much. And then we'll add our chopped diced onions to the olive oil. Then we are going to drain our soaked rice.
Now, if somebody were to say not soak their rice in time, would you recommend that they simply soak it for about 20 minutes first, or do you think that it would be fine dry?
So I've done it before where I didn't soak the rice. I would just add it in. So I mentioned that the way that I make it is I just add it into the lentils. I would just add it in sooner. So maybe cook your lentils a little bit less so that because the rice will be cooking for longer.
Okay.
Go ahead, add our rice to it. And stir it, and then we'll add our seasonings. And then also another kitchen hack, you always want to clean as you go. It's just gonna make your life so much easier. And you could just eat peacefully once your dinner is ready. And your dishes will already be done because you're cleaning as you go.
Mm-hmm.
And also, this might need a little bit more salt, just depending on your preference and what you like. So I just kind of assumed that everyone has salt at home, and if you don't, that's totally fine. I did put some in there as well. But you could taste it at the end and kind of just add to your preference. The recipe calls for adding 3 cups of hot water. So we're gonna add our hot water, but let's add it slowly and just see kind of where we get at with our rice. You want to make sure you cover your rice, but you don't want it to be like drowning in it. So to our rice, before we add the water, we're going to add our lentils back into it. Stir it up. And then at this point, you could lower it just until while you get your water ready. You don't want anything to burn. So I lowered my stove just to low. So all mixed in right now. And I'm gonna grab my water. So I just have a measuring cup. I'm just adding some hot water. So this right here is about 2 cups. So 2 cups is not quite enough. So we're gonna need a bit more.
Mm-hmm. The recipe does call for 3 cups, so 1 more cup should be good.
Go. Yeah, so 3 cups is literally perfect. If you could see, it's enough water to where it's covering it, but you can still see the lentils and the rice. So it's not like overfilled and drowning in the water. So we're gonna crank it back up to a high heat. You can go ahead and cover it just so it can heat up faster. And you want it to come to a boil. And then once it starts to boil, you don't want to let it boil vigorously. You just want to let it boil and then drop it down to a like medium low and just let it cook. And then while it's cooking, we'll work on the salad and then it's all done.
So once it comes up to a boil, which would be a harsh boil with plenty of bubbling, reduce it until it's just bubbling a little bit. That's what we're looking for in a simmer.
Yeah. So while this is boiling, I'm going to go ahead and work on some dishes that I have. And once it boils, I will drop it to low and then we can start on the salad.
So I'm confirming the salt is in the rice, the spice mixture, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay.
Salt certainly is one of those seasonings that is to everyone's taste and to their health, as sodium can be a bit dangerous in excess for cardiovascular disease. So we tend to trust people with that.
There's been some recent articles like the WHO and other health organizations are advocating for less salt, but most of the salt that people get, they say that at least 70% of the salt that people get is from packaged foods, not from home kitchens. So I think most people are doing a good job of not adding too much salt when they cook, but unfortunately, we're getting a lot of food from restaurants and from takeout and from packages, and that's where the salt is coming from. So they're advocating for, and the FDA is also looking to put into place rules about sodium intake or sodium content in prepared foods. So hopefully we'll see a change soon.
Mhm. Absolutely, especially because like it is one of our first preservatives. It is just typically added both as a preservative and a flavorant to most foods. However, obviously we're not enjoying it the most in a flavorant when it's in everything, and its purpose is best served in the home kitchen when it's making its most impact on dishes such as these.
So you can see mine is at a boil. I'm gonna go ahead and drop it to a low. So I have it on low, but not the lowest setting. So I could show you guys my stove is like low and then 2. So I have it at a 2. So I'm gonna cover it completely, let it cook, and then we can go ahead and get started on our salad. And then once our salad is done, we'll check on it, and then we'll work on our onions. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn this around.
Danya, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
So on the instruction sheet, it says to put a piece of foil along with the lid. Do you normally do that?
I don't, and that's why I
Okay.
didn't do it. If you guys want to, you can, but personally, I really don't think it makes a difference.
I didn't know if you were leaving it out so we could see better or,
Yeah, no, it's not necessary.
okay.
So we'll go ahead and get started on our salad. So we're gonna need a bowl just to put our produce in once we chop it. And we're gonna need our tomatoes, our cucumbers, and lemon. I'll start with the tomatoes. My tomatoes are a bit soft. These are just what I have at home. But I would recommend using more firm tomatoes. So we're just going to dice, and I'll show you guys the size that we are going for. Yeah, so mine are pretty mushy, but just kind of like smaller pieces. Yeah, my tomatoes pretty much.
And of course, it is fine if your tomatoes are a little bit mushy. Just be careful with slicing them. It might help to have a bit more back and forth motion with the knife as to not just crush them with downwards force.
Yeah, exactly. And so also, even if the tomatoes are a bit mushy, it's fine because we add lemon to it anyway. So it does end up being a little bit liquidy. It's not by any means a liquidy like dressing or salad, but it does have some liquid to it. So it is fine if your tomatoes are on the more ripe side. But like Connor mentioned, it's just much easier to dice when it's a little bit more firm.
Alan says in the chat, a serrated knife may help with cutting as well for a tomato.
Oh, yeah. I should use one.
Another trick is to turn it over and cut from the flesh side instead of the skin side. It's hard sometimes to get through the skin, especially if you don't have a really sharp knife. But you can turn it over and cut from the other side, from the flesh. Yeah, that side, exactly.
As in like this?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's easier sometimes to get through the flesh side than the skin side when you don't have a great knife.
So once you're done with the tomato and lemon, I believe that's all that's done for chopping.
Yeah. Other than the cucumber, yeah.
Yeah. So after you're done with the fruits and vegetables, then you can wash the knife and cutting board if you want to do that before moving on with the rest of the salad, or checking in to make sure that the lentils are cooking along nice. Just in case you're practicing cooking while you clean, so you don't wind up with a pile of dishes at the end.
I like that this is rather one pot anyway, so there aren't a ton of dishes to begin with, which is nice.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go ahead and start with my cucumber. So the way that I'm gonna chop my cucumber, I'm gonna dice it right down the center. And then turn it over and create some slices. So then we can go ahead and slices. Also, I did want to mention, you could add a jalapeno pepper if you want a kick, if you want more spice. I didn't include it in the ingredient bag just because not everyone likes the spice. So yeah, that's something that's optional. So I have the tomatoes and cucumbers cut up. Now I'm going to squeeze my lemon into it. I'm using a lemon squeezer, but I don't know the proper name for it, but you know, you could just use your hand. That's fine too. I'm just gonna squeeze it out directly into it.
If you squeeze with your hands, it may help to have your other hand underneath to catch any seeds that come through, obviously with a clean hand, just because we don't want the seeds getting into the salad.
Just the gentle mix. Then we will add the remaining olive oil, so the tablespoon of olive oil. And then we also gave some dried mint. You can use fresh also as well, but we have dried. And so for me personally, you don't have to do this. I just put it in my hand and kind of break it into there, just so it's like really fine. That's when I use dried. If I was using fresh, I would just kind of chop it really, really fine. And gosh, the mint smells so good.
Is mint common in Middle Eastern cuisine, Danya?
Yeah, we love mint. Okay, so this is our salad. So you guys could leave it out or you can put it in the fridge until the rice is ready. I'm gonna go ahead and just leave it out because I think it'll be really quick at this point. So just looking at my rice, I can tell it's not ready yet. There's still a good amount of liquid. I will open it and stir it just because I see that the lentils kind of rose to the top. So we could just give it a stir. Yeah, there's quite a bit of water in there still, so still have a way to go.
And our goal with this is for the lentils and rice to absorb the water, which is why we cover it so that no water is escaping out.
Yeah, it's funny because my mom was just visiting me and she was telling me how years ago my dad worked for like this computer company and she was like, I used to send them food all the time. She's like, I would send them like rack of lamb, like all these like amazing dishes. And she was like, but their favorite dish was the mujadara. So yeah, and it's funny because for Middle Easterns, it's such a simple meal in comparison to many of the other meals that we make. Because like I said, a lot of things use lamb and lamb takes an hour to cook, right? So this is something that's so simple. So she used to find it so funny that of all the things that she would take over there, that was like their favorite thing.
Can't go wrong with the basics.
Yeah. So I would say to start on our onions, but I want them to stay crispy for when we serve. So I do want to wait a little bit on the onions, just this way they can stay like hot and crispy when we pour it onto the mujadara. I just realized I only put 1 cucumber on my salad, so I wasn't done.
Looking a lot better with more green in the salad.
Yeah.
So with the onion, you're going to be sauteing it in the small pan?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then if you guys are limited on cooking pots and pans, once the rice is ready, you can just plate it and then use that same pot to saute the onions. You don't need a special pan for it. It's not necessary.
The onions mainly serve as a topping, so they will be going on the top if they're done last anyway.
So it's almost there. Yeah, it's actually really close to being ready. So I think I will start on the onions now. I'm gonna go ahead and put my pan on medium high heat, let it heat up a bit. So we are using vegetable oil for this. Avocado oil works really well also because it has a high smoking point. And so for something like this, you don't want to use like olive oil because you're cooking the onions for a bit of time, and olive oil taste tends to change if you're heating it on a really high heat. So I would recommend vegetable or avocado. Kind of let it get hot, and then we can put our oil in to heat up. Swirl it around the pan. Oh, actually a really good point to make too. So if you're not serving the entire meal today, if you are like saving some of it for tomorrow, you can actually save some of these onions and not do the whole batch right now, so that when you eat your leftover, you could reheat, you could do the onions again and have them be crispy and fresh. Or if you want, you could just do the whole thing, throw them all on. It's totally fine. But I just personally love when the onions are really crispy and hot. So it's up to you guys. It's, for me, half an onion was a pretty good amount. I will do the whole thing because my family's gonna eat it. But yeah, so I think the oil should be hot now. Yeah. And then you could use the same ladle because there was no like meats or anything used. And then we're just gonna cook it on, I'm gonna lower it to medium like high, and just kind of keep stirring it just so all of it gets coated in the oil. It will shrink down a little bit.
Onions are a lot of water by volume, so as they tend to cook, that water evaporates right out, and they just shrink down. It's kind of incredible to see over time.
Actually common for like in the Middle East to not eat dinner this late. I mean, from what I know, a lot of Middle Easterns will eat dinner around like what we call lunch, which is like 3 o'clock kind of. And then it would be a pretty big meal, and then they would have something later on, like something smaller later on. But most of the Middle Easterns I know now that live in America have kind of adapted, and we all eat a little bit later now. But yeah, like growing up, my family would eat dinner at like 3. So if I ever had friends come over, I'd come home from school and dinner would be ready, and they would be like, "You guys are eating now?" Like fascinated.
So Danya, what would they have in the evening then, if they're not having a full dinner?
It depends. I mean, a lot of times they serve like fruit, nuts, tea. Trying to think what else. But fruit is a big one. Yeah, pretty much just like snacks. But yeah, fruit and nuts. And then if like dessert is being served, so like some type of sweets, like baklava. But those things aren't, the sweets aren't really like a daily thing. But fruit is a really big one, and nuts too.
Would you say your lifestyle is the same now that you have kids, or are you more on the American schedule?
So for me with my kids, we eat dinner closer to like 5:30 or 6. But my family, like my parents still eat dinner around like 3:30. And then, like I said, they'll just have like fruit, and just snacks later in the day. But yeah, I mean, they are like fine eating that early. But with me and my family, I mean, my husband works, so I usually just wait till he gets home and we have dinner pretty much immediately. But yeah, it's not common for us to eat this late. Like we typically wouldn't eat at like 8. These are like halfway cooked. You can see them starting to brown.
They're definitely looking more golden by now.
Yeah. They smell really good though. I'm also gonna open up the rice and stir it one more time. So this is almost ready. There's very, very, very little liquid. So some of your guys's may be done. Mine has very, very little left to where I'm actually going to turn it off and keep it covered. And then within the next 5 minutes, it'll be good to go. Onions, we're gonna keep stirring it just so they cook evenly and don't burn.
So for the lentils, what you're mainly looking for is that there's not much remaining water then?
Yeah. You just want all the water to be absorbed, and the rice to also be fully cooked. Lentils will definitely be cooked at this point. But you just want to make sure the rice. And then based on your liking, like if at this point you feel like you want to stop cooking your onions, that's fine. We like it a little more crispy, so I want to keep going, but this is also fine too.
Onions especially can be to personal taste. Obviously, they can cook for as much as like 30 minutes just to get fully caramelized. But they could also just be taken raw. They definitely have a stronger taste for like that, but they are used certain varieties, especially on other dishes or even burgers, for example.
Mine is finished. It's delicious.
So these are just about done, and I'm pretty sure the rice is, yeah, that's looking great. So I think once these are fully done, the rice will be perfect. So yeah, most of these are crispy. I think for me, my preference, this is pretty good. We have like one larger one right here. Right, I'm gonna turn it off. Take it off the heat. And then we can look at our rice. Give it a stir. Yeah, I can smell all the spices. I'm gonna give it a taste just to make sure it doesn't need salt for my liking. I'm gonna add a little bit of salt. Not too much, just a little. Okay, then we can start to plate it. I'm not gonna put all of it, I'm gonna save some. Tomorrow. Then we will. Oops, let me grab it. We will top it with our onions. Spread them along. So if we were like a bigger family serving this meal, like a family of like 4 or 5, typically we would serve the rice without anything on it and then keep the onions on the side so that each person gets like a good amount of onions on their plate. But it's literally just me and my husband eating right now. So this is fine. And then we have our salad. And so if I was to plate my own, I could kind of just show you guys how I would plate mine. Also, if you're not vegan, plain yogurt is also another thing that we eat with this. It's not something everyone does. It's just an option. But yeah, like sometimes I do both the yogurt and the salad. Sometimes I don't feel for the yogurt. I'll just do the salad. So I'll go ahead. Then I'll just put my salad on the side. When my dad eats this, he'll put the salad like directly on top and then the yogurt directly on top and just like mix it all and eat it all together. But for me, I like everything kind of to itself. But yeah, so this is the final plate. And yeah, that's the dish. I hope you guys like it.
It's delicious. I love the 7 spice. So I'm gonna look it up and then make my own, add the 7 spices together.
Yeah, you can definitely make your own for sure. I'm just honestly, the only reason I'm not familiar with it enough is because I've always just purchased it from back home. So I really don't know exactly what goes into it. But yeah, I felt like even when I asked my mom, she was just kind of like, not sure. But yeah, I'm glad you guys liked it.
Yeah.
It's delicious. We're having it with yogurt, and I made about triple the salad.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I like eating it with yogurt too. I think it's I like the different textures, and I like that the yogurt's a little bit cold too. So when the rice is really hot, it's good to eat it with it. My kids eat it with yogurt. Like my kids will not eat it without yogurt.
It's delicious. Thank you so much, Danya.
You're welcome. I'm really glad you guys liked it, and thank you guys so much for joining. That was a lot of fun.
Okay, we'll find it. We got all day tomorrow.
Thank you for teaching us.
Yeah. And you know, be sure to stay posted with the future events. It would be really nice if you guys could join again. Yeah.
Diane, how are you doing? How'd yours turn out?
Finishing the onions.
Finishing the onions. Gotcha. Okay. Well, this was lovely. Thank you so much, Danya.
You're welcome. Thank you guys.
Thank you.